G'day everyone. Well, getting requests for multiple choice questions. So let's have a look at the External Assessment 2021. We're going to look through the multiple choice on this one here. Let's do it short and sharp. Okay, once again, know your question and know your theory. So question and your theory. Okay, so break down. Question 1, a primary objective of the Australian government's budget in 2021 was reducing inflation, keeping employment high, maintaining a stable exchange rate, or achieving a current account surplus. Okay, so once again, we've got a fiscal question. And the fact we know it was fiscal, the budget, I don't even know anything about the budget in 2021. I was partying too hard in 2021 to know what the budget was. Okay, so it's fiscal, so it can't be inflation because that's kind of monetary. Just dump that one there. Keeping employment high, plausible. A stable exchange rate, well, the government doesn't get involved in that. Okay, and achieving a current account surplus. That's not a mandated target of fiscal policy. So all of a sudden, we've got B. Okay, B's the answer. Straight away, B. Question 2, the results of a cash rate decision. Okay, first of all, we see a monetary policy question. So let's have a think about this now. We have to know our channels. Which channel transmission mechanism is this cash rate? Reduction in interest payments on debt, increase in income available for households and businesses. Increase in income. So we've just got to look at them and say, well, we can see that A, B and D are all plausible at this point because they're all channels. Sector income doesn't make sense. So we dump that straight away. Okay, are we talking here about income available? Is that anything to do with the asset prices of houses, for instance? Not really. We dump that one there as well. Savings and investment. Are we going to save more money when there's a reduction in the cash rate? Are we going to save more money if there's a reduction? We're not going to save more money. Okay, so once again, we end up with D as our correct answer. D is the correct answer. That's not a very well drawn one. Get rid of that. Let's just give it a tick. D is the correct answer. Okay, question 3. In contrast to macroeconomic policy, microeconomic reform aims to, so we're looking at supply side policy, AS policy, and we could say that supply side policy is all about, well, AS, AD, sky high supply, get down with demand, and we're trying to shift our AS curve to the right, AS1. Okay, limit government intervention in markets, well, maybe. Raise competitiveness of export business, yeah, maybe. Improve allocative efficiency of resource use, well, that shows up in the model, so I'm going to put that there as that's probably good. Increase long-term growth in gross domestic product. If you put a long-run aggregate supply curve on that one there, long-term growth, you'd be also looking at as well. Okay, really, like this one here is a bit of a tricky old question. So now we've got to find the most likely. This is a bit of a trickier one. Most likely, you've really got to know your theory on this one here. Okay, I'm going to limit government intervention in markets. We understand government's going to get there. Micro reform is about limiting intervention. Okay, raise competitiveness. Well, that would be an outcome. Number B, raise competitiveness, be an outcome. But I'm not really going to worry too much about that one there. Okay, the big idea of micro reform is around resource use. Okay, C is the correct answer on this one. Okay, long-term growth in gross domestic product, that's going to happen with both AD and AS working in hand. That's an AD plus AS. So we're going to get the most likely, most correct answer, and that's going to be C. Question 4, an economy has experienced decreasing levels of economic activity. So economic activity, AD is down. Okay, a cause for unemployment rates remaining at 5%. When AD is down, we're going to see likely unemployment should be rising, but it's not rising. It's not rising, ceteris paribus. Okay, so question 4, a reduction in the number of hours worked. Well, that's underemployment, isn't it? Underemployment. I missed a few letters there. An increase in unemployment benefits. That doesn't happen in cycles. In economic cycles, we're not going to see an increase in the value per person, so I'm going to dump that one. Rise in the number of school leavers, maybe, but we've got to look back at our ceteris paribus up here, which is the most likely, once again, the most correct. So I'm going to put a question mark. Delay in workers retiring. Okay, so labour, participation, Labour participation is up. Okay. If labour participation is up and there's a decrease in level of economic activity, we would likely see unemployment levels up. So I'm going to dump that one. Okay, rise in school leavers. It just doesn't, between A and C, I really can't see, like a rise in school leavers would be participation as well, like for D, and unemployment would likely be rising, but it's remaining steady. Okay, so that gets us back to A for number 4. Okay. Assume the Australian government has simplified regulations in medical and pharmaceutical industries. All right, identify the expected change in ADAs. So let's draw it. We see here, simplified regulations. We're looking at a micro reform. Okay, so let's just draw it quickly. Down with demand, sky high with supply, ASAD. Okay, and we're going to see simplified regulations. We're seeing increase in supply, S1. Okay. Now, prices now, we can see that prices are down. Prices are down. So then we can immediately go, it's going to be B or it's going to be D. And the aggregate supply curve shifts to the right. Yep. Okay, so it sounds like B is pretty good at this point. Okay, so D is not a contraction movement because it's an expansion there. Okay. Question 6. Which country would most likely experience a longer time lag in economic growth following a cash rate change? Ceteris paribus. Monetary policy. Okay. Longer time lag. Okay. So we're trying to figure out here what we're looking at. And I'm going to first of all go to... They're all about marginal propensity. So the two ones that you really look at are MPC and MPS. Okay, we don't really look at marginal propensity to import, and we don't really look at propensity to invest. I'm not sure about those anyway, how they all fit into this. So now it's a C or an S. So if they consume 0.7, they're saving 0.3. Okay, now if there's a lot of consumption, more consumption and less savings, MPS, then they're going to kick along pretty quickly. But if they're saving 0.7 and the MPC is 0.3, okay, a lot of money saving. Any drop in the cash rate is going to go back into savings. So we're not going to see the growth here. This economy is going to shoot up. This one's going to be slow to do anything. Let's make it a snail. Okay. Now, so it's going to be D at this point. Okay, question 7B. This style of question has come up on papers most years. They seem to have something of this. Economic management policy leads to an outcome. Okay. So increasing goods and services tax to improve tax efficiency leads to an increase in living standards, household living standards. So they're increasing tax. They're increasing T. That's not going to lead to an increase in living standards. Raising tax-free threshold to lift consumption and increase in equity distribution. I'm going to put that as plausible. If you raise the threshold, it makes incomes more equal. Repaying government debt to overseas residents leads to expansion in short-term economic activity. Repaying debt to overseas, that's not going to work. Promoting competition in financial industry leads to a reduction in unemployment. That's actually plausible. Okay, so if we increase competition, we'll allow new businesses to enter a market. Competition, there'll be jobs created, but potentially though, we then got to say, well, which one is going to be the most linked to theory? This is plausible, but I can't find a theory for it. Okay, I can't really get an honest theoretical basis for that. So I'm going to dump that one. And that leads me to B. B, I have a clear theory connection. Okay, there's a clear connection between tax-free threshold and increase in equity. That's how it ends up. Okay, try this a bit smaller. Question 8, assume the current account has shown the trend for the last 16 quarters. Quarter is 3 months. Okay, now we're looking here at which fiscal strategy is most effective at addressing the issue in Australia. So the current account equals, in here, we look at this here and it's in negative, so we're in a deficit, equals net outflow of dollars. Net outflow of cash to foreign people. I think that's right, isn't it? Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Which fiscal strategy? We're most effective in addressing this. Most effective. So there could be a few, once again, that could be effective. Let's break it down at this point here. Stimulating the economy to encourage spending on domestic goods and services. Yep. Yeah, plausible. Liberalising trade policy to make the economy more competitive. Plausible. Replacing overseas borrowing with domestic sources of finance. I don't think that's going to do much for you. Okay, improving efficiency of foreign exchange market. That's just about the flow of money. That's not going to do much there. Yeah, replacing overseas borrowing with domestic sources of finance. Okay, so domestic sources of finance. You can't just say let's get money from here. The reason we get money from overseas is we don't have it here. Okay, so the current account, this net outflow of dollars here. Liberalising trade policy or stimulating economy to encourage spending on domestic goods and services. So we're going to substitute, let's look at A, we're going to substitute imports for domestic production. Okay, we substitute imports for domestic production and we're going to stimulate the economy. We're not going to buy them as much from overseas and that would reduce our current account. That's going to be A for that one there. Once again, these are quite problem-solving sort of questions. Okay. 9, I don't have a stimulus for that one, so I'm going to jump over that. Okay, and question 10. Data shows the labour market for an economy. Okay, we've got 2021, 2022. We've got a growth in the labour force. Labour force is up. And employed persons are up as well. Okay. Now, what we've got to do is do some maths on it here, potentially. Okay, you might want to do some maths. So you might want to figure out your employed rate. You might want to do like, 550 over 580. Understand the percentage of employment of the labour market. Or you could do, at that point, you could also do 30 over 580. 580 equals your unemployment rate. And then you could do for 2022, you do the same. You've actually got 30 over 790 equals the yearly rate. Okay, so now I know, and I'll tell you now that the proportions is that it looks like unemployment's falling. Looks like unemployment is down. Okay. So we're trying to figure out what fiscal policy measures could be. Okay, so I know the unemployment rate's falling now because I've done my little analysis there. So I've done 30. I'll just get rid of that one. So I do 30 over 580 for 2021 and 30 over 790 for 2022. So unemployment rate's down. Okay, so let's look through the answers. Should be avoided because number of employed persons has. Fiscal policy measures should be avoided. Well, they're always in action. So that's hokey. B, do not need to be changed because employment rate is unchanged. Well, it's not unchanged. It has changed. That's out too. Could be contractionary because the unemployment rate is falling. Okay, we know that. So fiscal policy could be, we could be saying that we're seeing unemployment falling. Maybe. Then inflation is up. Phillips curve. Remember that fella? Okay, well, that's not a very good one. We can do better than that. Phillips curve relationship could be expansionary because the employment rate is rising. Okay, the employment rate is rising too, isn't it? Isn't the employment rate rising? Unemployment's falling. The rate of employment rising. We don't really talk about the employment rate. We think about the unemployment rate. Okay, and that leads me to potentially pick up C as my answer. All right. Now, you can have a look through the marking guide. Those 9 of those I've done. I reckon they're all correct. Check your marking guide, give them a go, work your solutions, and good luck as we get closer to the finish line. Thanks, everyone. Leave a like and a subscribe and a comment below. Cheers.